Ooh, a night setting. What could this be about? The only other time we had a story set like this was the Ghost Train of Season 2, and a few stories back in Thomas, Percy, and the Dragon. Well, to elaborate, fans are introduced to a new job taken care of by the main characters. A different kind of train that hasn't been talked about in the series yet. And yes, as the title suggests, the subject of discussion is the post train. Yes, I'm using the UK title with the US narration, I know. I'm doing it like that because the UK is the original title it had. But I like George Carlin's voice. Besides, mail, postage, same stuff.
This is the sound of the mail train. One train is pulled by Thomas and the other by Percy, as the loads are too heavy for one engine to do the work alone.
Now to most, the theme just heard is considered only for the mail train. But if you were to have this motif side by side to Thomas's anthem theme, they really are the same tune. One is at a slightly quicker tempo. Either way, though, it is very much a catchy song to hum to. Now as for the job being done, this is something new. How does Thomas run his branch line, though? I don't think he could work a full 24 hours. I guess he has some kind of schedule figured out with Top Hat. Certainly traffic would be far less with nobody up. However, that doesn't mean delays never occurred.
The main line train was late. At last, Henry arrived. Sorry, he puffed. The mail boat from the mainland was delayed.
There was one too many M's in that sentence. If one's not listening closely enough, someone could mistake Henry for saying the mailboat from the mainland was delayed. Meanwhile, Percy was sitting there at Knapford Station thinking, ain't nobody got time for that. Trying to make up for lost time, Percy moved fast, but not fast enough to beat the coming sunrise. As he finished at Dryall Station, Harold landed nearby. Unfortunately, he was not to offer any help.
Good morning, whirred Harold. I always said railways were out of date, but you're so slow with the mail. You should give everyone their stamps back. Percy was too tired to explain.
Really? Did Harold just land to make that remark and fly off? I've stated before, Harold comes across rather snooty, as George Carlin equally voices him, but that's just not nice. Earlier in Percy's promise, he seemed to have no issue assisting him, so why now does he feel the need to mock him? But as much as I sympathize with the engines, Harold does have valid reasoning. Rails only lead a train to wherever they go, while contraptions like Harold can go anywhere. If anything, he should have at least offered to join them. It didn't matter later that morning, though. Percy was way too tired to care.
Good morning, Percy. You're up early this morning. No, you're wrong, sighed Percy. I'm back, tired and late. He rolled into the shed and fell asleep almost before his buffers touched the bar.
Good thing he wasn't going too fast. Don't sleep and drive, kids. The next eve of the mail delivery, Percy met with Thomas at Dryall to discuss some unfortunate news. According to Thomas's driver, the owner of the Sodor post office was disgruntled over the delay from the other night. Thankfully, in the engine's defense, Top Hat knew it wasn't Percy's fault. But like any service, there is always one individual who has to make things a bother for everyone. What's even stranger to me, though, is that it's the owner of the service, not even a customer. If none of the customers are upset, who cares, you loon? Speaking of which, another airhead came by as well to add in his 2 cents.
I say, you two, there's news flying about. Where? Puffed Percy crossly. All over the place. They're going to scrap the mail train and use me instead. Wings work wonders, you know.
Seriously, Harold? Do you actually have a job right now, or do you just enjoy wasting fossil fuels for fun? All he's done in this episode is show up like a whack-a-mole and bounce out again. Go do something constructive, like flying through a flock of wild geese. Anyway, both engines made sure they were on time everywhere they went later that night, stopping at Knapford Harbor, going to Tidmouth Halt, Toriek, Lower Sudbury Station, and others. At Wellsworth Station, Thomas ran into a small snag.
At a station, Thomas noticed a man looking cold and worried. He had missed his train home. We can give you a ride, said Thomas's driver, but it will be rather uncomfortable. Thank you, said the man. Anything's better than sitting here.
The man is the same railway inspector from the last story. Either everyone on Sodor loves to have the same kind of style, or this guy has amnesia and doesn't remember what he does day by day. One day he's a grumpy man with a bootlace. Next he's a railway inspector. Then he's a cold, lost man at a station. And nobody knows who he is. Once the mail delivery was finished, nothing else was said about any delays. So hopefully that quelled the owner from before. Next afternoon at Dryall Station, Percy saw Harold and questioned why he wasn't doing his normal flyby.
The wind's too strong, grumbled Harold. I've been grounded. You need rails, laughed Percy. They work wonders, you know. Always. That night, Sir Topham Hatt showed the two engines a letter. It was from the man who missed his train. He thinks you are both splendid, and everyone says that the mail train is the pride of the line.
Pride of the line, huh? I mean, that's great to hear, but I don't think the mail train is exactly that. Imagine Sodor having a tour and the thing they think is their greatest feat is the mail train. What does that make Gordon then? That's really downgrading him. Nevertheless, I am glad to see Thomas and Percy get the credit they deserve. Obviously, no other engine is up during that time to make those deliveries. All in all, though, this was a unique story because it truly broke the trend of narratives that were being told as of late. No disagreements between engines or Gordonism moments were featured here. It was about a completely new task and explored how delays can also occur from other sources, and not just a train derailment or collisions and such. It's still really weird, though, that the owner of the mail service was the one who was going to get himself closed. Like, what? How do you self-sabotage yourself like that? What a baltard. As for Harold, this episode also shows differences between rails and aerial vehicles. Harold apparently thought he was hot stuff, but that was shown otherwise when he wasn't allowed to fly. This reminds viewers that every type of transport has its limitations. The music in this episode was wholesomely filling. We really only get one tune, but it was a new one and it sounds great. The mail train motif is well done and memorable for all the right reasons. I'm serious though. Listen to this next to Thomas's anthem song. They are very close in chord progression. As for locations, this episode displayed a lot. And on top of that, several scenes were depicted in the nighttime setting, which is a fresh look. Tidmouth Sheds, Knapford Harbor, the Watermill, and the Valley Bridge all look great. What's more interesting is that both Arlesburg and the lighthouse have things moving in the background this time. This is new because almost everything has been static in motion, except for the trains. Yet Arlesburg has floating boats, and the lighthouse blinks. It's not crazy different, but every bit makes it better. Next episode is Trust Thomas. Thanks for watching.